We interrupt your regularly scheduled panicking to report some breaking news.
Reports are coming in that the nemesis we have labeled the Infector is in our fair city of Gravehold.
City officials urge all citizens to stay indoors, do not travel, and under no circumstance tank the damage yourselves.
Fortunately, 2 breach mages are currently on scene preparing to defend our city.
Early reports indicate that they have some idea of what they're doing.
We'll continue to update the situation as...
Do you feel?
Oh my god, I think that might be coming from... Hi, I'm Dr. Scott.
And I'm also Dr. Scott, and today we're going to be teaching you the flow of the game of AeonsEnd, The Descent.
This is an exceptional board game that is a deck-building cooperative game for 1 to 4 players.
To set up your player mat, you're going to pick a character. So Nick has picked Brahma, and you're going to pick a player number. So Nick has chosen player number 1. And then each player will get 10 life. So you'll go ahead and put 10 little components on the board to mark how much life you have. You're then going to grab the cards from your starting hand and your starting deck. And for the original game, it'll walk you through picking out a banner card, but you'll get to replace one card with a banner card.
Now, the banner card that I chose was a gem. So that means that if I have a starting gem in my hand, I can replace it. So I'll take a crystal, throw it away. It's not going to be added to the starting deck or anything. This is now replaced it. If it was a spell and I didn't have a non-unique spell, so like if I didn't have a spark in my starting hand, then what I would do is I would replace the spark that's in my starting deck instead.
Your board will also walk you through your special ability that you can get when you charge your character and the location of how many charges you have there at the bottom. The last thing we need to set up are breaches. So that is the little squares that you see at the top. And so the yellow circle means that that breach is open. And so you'll put it on the opened breach side. The next ones are technically closed breaches, and the color will show you where the yellow side will go. So that yellow side will go down, and that one will go to the side. Each character setup is slightly different. For example, some characters may not even have all 4 breaches, and so you'll see that with a kind of red negative sign.
That means that that character wouldn't even have a breach one. It would look like this. For the first time you play the game, refer to the first game setup sheet. We have these 9 spell, relic, and gem components, but we ordered ours just a little differently. We like to view things based on their cost, and we did it cost ascending order.
All right, so once you have your cards placed, you're also going to want to get this here. This is Gravehold's life, and always set it to 30. And then you'll also just kind of take your components and put them in stacks. You'll then want to get the nemesis set up. For the first game, it is the Infector, and you'll set his life to 60 because of that little red area. So there you go. And then you'll take the round turn order deck. So we're doing a 2-player game. So we're going to take 2 of each player, so player 1 and player 2, and 2 nemesis cards. And then we're going to shuffle all of that with the friend and foe. And that is going to decide who goes in turn order.
We will then take the friend and foe boards, and we will take their respective cards with them, flip the first card up, and leave the swarm broodling closed because these are monsters that the swarm will summon.
Next, we're going to construct the nemesis deck based on this chart in the rule book, and it will tell you how many basic cards per player you need to construct the deck for level 1, 2, and 3 cards.
So we will take the level 1 cards. We have the Infector themselves cards, which are labeled Infector, and then the basic cards. And we will take them and shuffle them. You have to include all of the Infector's unique cards, and then the table outlines how many basic card additions are added. So this level 1 will be at the top of the deck. We'll do the same thing for 2, and again, there's Infector specific and then basic cards. This will be the below the level 1, so level 1, level 2. And then we'll do the same thing for level 3. We'll also have the Infector deck, which is not the Infector's cards that they draw, but a separate deck based on the additional rules for setup. You'll also want to set aside the Scorched Pearl gem. This is a cursed gem that the Infector can make you draw. So starting the game, you will just flip over the first turn order card, and this says the foe. So we should always know what the top card is of the foe. This says that the swarm gains 2 charges, or Gravehold suffers 3 damage. Based on our experience, we always think that if you can handle it, you put some charges on the creature. Now I know always is a very strong word, but Gravehold suffering damage is a slippery, slippery slope. Now the swarm, when it fills up its charges, it says that we'll place the bottommost minion from the Nemesis discard pile back into play. If there are no minions in the pile, then place 2 broodlings into play instead. So I just hope that we will have a Nemesis card in the discard, so we will be able to do that when the charge gets full. The next would be Nemesis. So we will draw from the Nemesis cards, and the first card is a power card. So to discard, we have to spend 6 money. There's a power 3, so we'll take 3 tokens and put it on top of it. And it says that once the power 3 is exhausted, which is typically meaning 3 rounds from now, we will reveal the top 2 cards of the Infection deck, which is this other deck of the Infector, and then the players collectively gain those infections, and we can go over those rules shortly. But we currently have a time bomb of 3 for us to be aware of. Alright, and then that's the end of the Nemesis. Then it is first player. I have got the first player token. So with my starting hand, I have 4 crystals and a funneled rage, which is a spell. So I will prep this spell. When I take damage, I'll get more money, or ether. And then I can also suffer damage in lieu of somebody else. But then I could also cast it next round. So I'll take these 4 crystals. That yields 4 ether to me. And I think that I'm going to get a Washium. Now, the unique thing about this game is once you've purchased something, you can decide to place it anywhere you'd like with the hand that you used to purchase it, or anything else in the round aside from spells. So, this is a better card. These are very weak cards. That means that I will want to put this at the bottom of this deck, because once it gets flipped over, it will be the first card on top. This deck will never be shuffled, never unless a Nemesis makes it happen, but just keep that in mind, that you're constantly building and modifying the deck, but order is very important when it comes to this game.
All right, we're going to turn over the next player, and it is myself. So I also have a starting hand of 4 crystals and a spell. My character does not have an open breach like Nick does, so I would like to play the spell, but I'm going to spend 2 money to focus it. So that is going to take up 2 of my crystals, but I can put my spell there. when you don't have an open breach, that means I have to cast this next round. So I can't leave it there. However, Nick's spell can hang out there as long as he wants it to because his breach is open. And then with my last 2 crystals, I can't really afford anything out here. So instead I'm gonna charge. That costs 2 ether or money. And we just put a little charge token right here. And each player has a different amount, but once you reach it, you can do your special character's action, which we'll talk about later as it happens.
The friend is next, and again, this was televised. So Delana the healer will gain 2 charges, or any player returns a card from their discard pile to their hand. So any player returns a card can be nice because that means that somebody will have 6 cards, and if you just purchase something, then you'd be able to use it immediately. But I think it's more prudent, and Becca, correct me if I'm wrong, for Delana to get 2 charges because it allows us to sustain more damage.
Yep, no, that's good.
So Delana's particular special says any player or gravehold gains 4 life as soon as this is filled. So again, with something that swarms us, no pun intended, it is beneficial to have a greater buffer. So now we draw the next card.
All right, so I'm going to start with my spells because as we said earlier, I have to do this. So my cast is deal 1 damage and then resolve any effects on or attach to the breach this was cast from 1 additional time, which is not applicable right now. So, Nick, will you give 1 damage to
Absolutely.
the infector? And then this goes in my discard pile. And then I have a spark, which is a spell again, and 4 crystals. So I'm gonna do a similar thing where I focus for 2 for my spell, and then spend the other crystals to get 1 charge.
And just a reminder for everybody, in order to place a spark on a closed breach, it must be focused that round in order to place this. This cannot just be placed, like let's say here, if it wasn't focused. So because she focused it, she could. All right? And then you will flip all of those over and then draw 5.
Now,
All right, it's me. And just like Becca said, you always start with your spells first. I'm going to keep Funneled Rage because Brahma's got some angry past she hasn't dealt with. All right, so I've got a special gem called Eternum. You can gain 1 damage, and you may suffer damage. If you do, any ally will get an ether token that they can then use on their turn. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to suffer 1 damage, and that'll give me an ether. That'll give you an ether. And with my Funneled Rage, it says while prepped, when you suffer damage, you'll get an additional money. So I'll get 2. Thank you. Just from that. And you don't have to have these. Sometimes tricky things are beneficial for you to remember. I'm going to then use these 2 actually, and focus this. And then I will use 3 crystals. I'll just set these aside because I'm going to purchase something. And I will purchase this. This is an exceptionally nice low-cost spell. And again, anything that you purchase will go straight to your discards. But this allows us to cast Venom on any bad guy, whether it's the big boss, the big bad, or one of the swarm, or one of the big bad's minions. And Venom will cause 2 damage, but after another elemental card or token is placed, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you'll also be able to deal 1 damage to it, so think of this as a beautiful, beautiful investment. And then, because I focused once, I'm going to place a spark in this closed breach, and then I'm going to reorder my cards, and then place them in my discard. And then, since there's nothing to draw, I'll flip my deck over and then draw 5 cards.
All right, and then our last one is Nemesis. So we'll remove a power token.
So we have 2 rounds left before this shit show happens. And then we have a minion, which this is great for the swarm. This is not great for us, but when the Nemesis deck gets, or turn order gets drawn again, this will activate and it'll use its persistent skill. So it says Gravehold will suffer 2 damage, and then only when it's defeated, we will get a Scorched Pearl, which is the cursed gem deck. So we'll put this to the side, and we will collect 5 health tokens for it. Alright.
All right, that's the end of the first round. So we'll take the turn order cards and shuffle them, and then we repeat.
Alright, so we'll flip this over. And we've got a bad guy, so since it's me starting, I'm probably going to use both of these spells to deal some damage to him, because currently we are very weak. So I'll deal 1 damage because I have to, since this is a close breach. So this gets cast. And then I will deal another damage with my Funneled Rage. And I'll put the Funneled Rage before the Spark because I like that better. And then we can use this that I purchased last round. So it says gain 2 ether, and you may spend 1 ether to focus your closed breach of the lowest cost. So this will get better and better as your breaches continue to open. So what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to open my breach 2. So when you focus, this is an important thing to note. As you focus, you turn the breach clockwise. So if this is your face up or face north section, it would cost 3 to open. But as you focus, it spends 2 ether to focus. The next time you want to try to open this thing, it'll cost 2. And so obviously this will be the most optimal or optimized face that you could have pointing upward or north from your player mat. But I'm going to spend 3 ether to just flip this up. So 1, 2, 3. And then I will use this Washium to then spend 1 instead of what's on my closed breach 3, which is 3. So I'll get a discount of 2 effectively. And I will flip it here by spending this. So I still have 1 ether left, and then I have another crystal, and I will do a focus of 2. Now, charge that costs 2. Now I did put these out of order. I want the Washium on the bottommost of the casted spells. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then I am done. Or not. I am not done. That happens a lot. So I will use Silent Sting, and again this will cast Venom. And I'm going to buy some goodies. I'm also going to try to help Becca out by me suffering another damage. That allows you to get yet another ether token. And so I will get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am going to purchase a spell because we are currently very weak. Now, generally I'd recommend people use gems heavy because the more money you can generate, the more spells you can purchase early on in the game, but we're kind of going to be minion heavy.
And I think you need to take a life off.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
All right. Friend. All right, so we can either have her gain 2 charges, or any player gains 1 charge.
Do you have thoughts? I think your player is a wonderful, wonderful person to have charges.
I'll take a charge.
Excellent.
All right. Nemesis. So we remove the power token.
We now have one left before this, we're at the final countdown. Cue the music. And then we have the minion do a Gravehold, suffers 2 damage. And then we draw a new card for the minion. And this is just a rinse and repeat. So there's now another minion. So it's starting to look hairy. I'm glad that I got a spell. And this one needs 7 health, Becca. And this says, immediately, this minion suffers damage equal to the number of players in the game. So we'll knock off 2. So he'll be a total of 5 health. And then he's got a persistent Gravehold, suffers 2 damage, or reveal the top card of the infection deck. The player with the fewest infections will gain that infection. Quick tip, in my opinion, infections are terrible. Don't get them if you can. Sometimes it will be completely unavoidable, but we'll just have Gravehold suffer the damage, and hopefully Delana can put some bandages on that. That's a little weird for a healer, but I guess she's a structural engineer as well.
All right, next player will be me. So I have to do my spell first, so I'll deal my damage to the one that has a little bit more.
More damage or more
More
health?
damage, just
More
since we're
damage.
closer to killing him.
Excellent. All right, great.
And that will go in my discard pile. Then in my hand, I once again have a spell and 4 crystals. So I'm going to finally open this breach
Nice.
for 2 of them and put my spell out there. And then Nick so kindly gave me some ether to spend. So I have 4. And as Nick said, we are spell poor and have a lot going on. So I'm also going to get the spell, and I'm going to put that at the bottom.
Okay. The foe's turn. So it says place a broodling into play. So that's going to be from this deck. That's why it says the broodling. And then it says the swarm gains 1 charge. So we'll get a charge from there. Place it right here. We have 2 more charges before it spawns either 2 more broodlings or spawns a discarded minion, which we currently don't have. So this will go over here. He's 3 health, and it says when this guy's discarded, we'll return him to the deck of the broodling, the swarm. And its persistent ability is any player suffers 1 damage and discards a card. That's really bad. You do not get to redraw up to 5. You will then have, instead of 5 cards to play for your round, 4 cards.
All right.
The shit show happens. Alright, so this is the final power. Again, it's removed each round. So it says reveal the top 2 cards of the infection deck. The players collectively gain those infections. And then this one is permanently discarded. So we'll take the first 2 infections. And here's one for you.
Thank you.
What's your say?
I have place a card in hand on top of your deck or suffer 1 damage.
And then mine says discard a prep spell or suffer 1 damage. Now this isn't like, oh, this happens once and it's the end of it. No. It is a chronic infection. So it's going to be around. It's just going to linger like long COVID per se. And then did we get everything?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
We haven't done anything really.
Excellent. All right, so this minion starts, so Gravehold suffers 2 damage.
All right.
Then this one says Gravehold suffers 2 more damage. And then this says a player will suffer 1 damage and discards a card. I will do it. Unfortunately, I don't have my final rage, so we don't get to do anything. And then I will discard a crystal. And then we draw a card, right?
Yep.
Excellent. Just more bad news. Now we've got another power. It says to discard just like the other one, spend 6. But this is a power 2. And this is a new term. It's called Unleash. And you'll see this a lot in the game. Unleash is very unique to each individual monster type. And we'll talk about that when this happens. But we'll also get a Scorched Pearl from the Cursed deck.
I can take it.
No.
Oh.
When this happens.
Oh, when that happens.
But I love your just jumping in front of the bullet for me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Love you.
I love you too, baby. All right, and then
I get
you're
to go.
up.
All right.
Yep.
So even though I finally opened this, I'm going to go ahead and deal my damage because we're struggling.
Yep.
So we'll do it to that one.
All right, great. He's at 1 health.
All right. And then I will put a spark out.
Nice.
And I have 4. So I will get the washium because I need some spending money. And that is it.
All right. Then it would be to round 3. All right, now that you're comfortable with 2 rounds shown, we're going to talk to you about some hypotheticals that could happen. The first being when you cast this silent sting. Now it says you place a venom token on an enemy and deal 1 damage to it. So let's say that I happen to target this guy that has 4 health left. First things first, we'd add a venom token to him, and then we'd remove 1 health from him. Pretty simple. Now this venom token does not proc or trigger until a second element of any type is added to that specific enemy. So for instance, if Becca were to play later this Flamium, it says that she could place an immolate token on an enemy. That means that she would place this, and if she wanted to proc the Venom and the immolate immediately, she would place it on the Plague Bringer, the one that already has a element token on it. So that means since there are 2, it doesn't have to be the same type. Since there are 2, these happen immediately. Now the Venom, based on the rulebook, very interestingly, can be targeted on any enemy whatsoever. Doesn't have to be the person or creature that it was assigned to. It could be any. So 2 damage would go to someone. I would put it still on the Plague Bringer. And then Becca would be able to destroy a card from hand. And you might think that's awful. But if you are a avid deck building person, you would know that these are junk cards. You want to get rid of these once you have enough of good stuff. So Immolate is a very strong card because all it will do is leave you with strong cards. Now, on a different scenario, let's say I were to cast this on a different creature, this Silent Sting. So let's say I were to do it on the Bone Titan. The Bone Titan only had 1 health left. So, after placing the Venom token, you'd remove the 1 health. This is gone. And guess what? He dies. But he had a Venom token, and there's not a second thing, so does it proc? Does it trigger? Yes, it does. So that means that this 2 damage, just like the other time, it can be assigned to any creature, but that is one benefit of killing something with an element. So this 2 could go to either the Plague Bringer or the Broodling. So I place it right there.
Another concept we haven't talked about yet is developing. Developing shows up on these cards with a smaller number. And so at the beginning of the game, when you don't have as much money, you can develop a card for that lower cost. So for example, if I wanted to develop Silent Sting, I would spend 2 ether, and then it would go into a separate pile.
Same thing with this, spending 4 ether instead of 7, so almost half the price.
Then on another turn, Nick or myself could purchase a developed card for that lower cost. So you would still have to spend the 2 ether or the 4 ether, but it allows you to use your ether at a lower cost, just takes more turns to get it.
Yeah, so even though you do spend more, all in all, you don't have the difficulty of needing to have 7 all at once, which is a really tall order. And if you noticed with our power tokens, where we needed to discard 6 money, we couldn't do that. So if you are very resource poor, Develop is a phenomenal addition to the game.
And now we're going to talk about Unleash. So there's going to be different cards in the Nemesis deck that will say Unleash, just like our power one right here. So for example, if this were to go and we needed to Unleash, we would look at the Nemesis board. Each character or bad guy has a different Unleash. So for the Infector, if he has no Nemesis tokens on, we're going to put one Nemesis token on his board, and then we'll draw the top infection card, and the player with the lowest infections will get the card. So right now we're equal, so we get to choose, and Nick's going to take one for the team.
Just like you said that you'd take one for the Scorched Pearl. Thank you so much.
But let's say the Infector did have a Nemesis token on it, and an Unleash got drawn. You would take the the Nemesis token off, and now each player would resolve their infection cards.
That's all infection cards. So for instance, for me, it says discard a prep spell for this one or suffer 1 damage. And this says place a card in hand on top of your deck or suffer 1 damage. So I'd have to discard this, not being able to use it. And then of my 5 cards, I would then have to place one on the top. It doesn't have to be random unless it explicitly states it. Or I suffer 2 damage, but I would rather not do that. Now these are permanent. These infections are permanent. So you just continue to get sicker over time. This is why I said it's really good to avoid infections if you can, because it turns the game from, oh, we're doing great, to holy shit, we're gonna die. The last thing that we'd like to talk about is exhaustion. So Brahma currently has 2 health, but if I lose both of these HP, my character is considered exhausted, and there is a series of things that we need to do when that happens.
So when she becomes exhausted, Nemesis is going to unleash effects twice. If the exhaustion happens during an unleash, you will complete that current unleash, and then 2 more unleashes will happen. The exhausted player is going to destroy one of their breaches and discarding any spells that were prepped in that breach. There's no way to regain that breach that's been destroyed. And then the exhausted player will discard all of their charge tokens. So the exhausted player is going to continue to participate, but they cannot gain life or be healed. And then when a card that's going to deal damage to the lowest life, it will deal damage to myself instead.
Now, if there is a scenario where it does trigger damage to Brahma, let's say like the infections, where they explicitly say suffer 1 damage if you didn't have a prepped spell, that would instead deal 2 damage because it said 1, so double the damage to Gravehold. So if something did 4 damage to me, that's 8 damage to Gravehold. So like we said, things can really deteriorate quickly with Gravehold, so you want to make sure that that health is as plump as it can be.
Plump.
Yeah. For game end conditions, there are 2 ways to win. The first one is simply killing the boss. So as soon as they reach 0 HP, good job, y'all did it. But the other way is what I consider not a true victory. If you've used all of the cards of the boss or discarded all of them, and it goes to draw a card and can't, the boss is exhausted. It runs away.
But for the players to lose, that can happen several ways. Gravehold can go to 0 health, which it only starts at 30, so that can happen pretty quickly. All players become exhausted. If one player is exhausted, you can keep going, as we kind of talked about in the scenario before. And then lastly, be aware that each Nemesis may have a specific victory condition listed on that Nemesis card.
Under the additional rules.
And that could cause the players to lose immediately. So definitely be aware of those scenarios.